All right, let's talk about strategy. Today, we're going to rip up the old playbook. The one that's all about grand plans, big flashy announcements, and those 5-year roadmaps that just end up gathering dust. Well, it turns out the most dominant organizations in the world, they play a totally different game. No, really, just think about this for a second. What if everything you've been taught about what makes a good strategy is, well, wrong? What if the very things we think are crucial, like meticulous planning and making big public commitments, are actually the things holding us back? That's the core question we're diving into today. Okay, so before you can even think about winning out there in the marketplace, you have to win the war inside your own walls. This first half is all about mastering that internal game. It's about forging the mindset and the culture that becomes the bedrock for everything else. Let's jump right into the first rule. I know, this one feels totally counterintuitive, right? We're always told to declare your goals. But here's the sneaky psychological trap. When you announce a big plan, your brain gets this little jolt of satisfaction. It feels like you've already accomplished something. And that premature feeling of success, it can absolutely kill your motivation to do the actual hard work. I mean, just look at how Apple basically turned secrecy into a weapon with the original iPhone. That 2007 reveal wasn't some fuzzy roadmap. It was a finished, polished revolution dropped on the world, fully formed. While all their competitors were busy writing press releases about their future phones, Apple was heads down, quietly building the future. They poured every single ounce of energy into the product, not into talking about the product. The second rule is another one that fights against every instinct we have. We love to wait for that perfect moment, the perfect plan. But here's the thing. Ready is an illusion. It never really comes. The best strategists in the world know that learning fast is way more valuable than preparing slow. And this quote from Reid Hoffman just nails it. The first version of LinkedIn, honestly, it was a bit clunky. The features weren't totally clear. But by just getting it out there, they got something priceless, real-time feedback from actual users. And that is infinitely more valuable than any planning session in a conference room. The market is your best research and development department, period. We are drowning in a sea of best practices, consultants and case studies all telling us to copy the latest hot company. And it's so tempting, isn't it? But a true, sustainable competitive advantage will never come from being a cheap copy of someone else. It comes from leaning into what makes you, you. Warren Buffett is the perfect example. While Wall Street was getting obsessed with ridiculously complex financial wizardry, what was Buffett doing? Sticking to his knitting. He built an entire empire on a dead simple strategy that perfectly fit his patient personality. He proved you don't have to be the most sophisticated person in the room. You just have to be the most disciplined and the most true to yourself. This might be the most overlooked rule of them all. We are so wired for pressure, for hitting the next target, that we completely forget one of the most powerful drivers of human behavior, reinforcement. If you want to sustain excellence, you have to actually celebrate the behaviors that create it. And nobody does this better than Pixar. Their culture isn't just about popping champagne when a movie hits $1 billion. No, they celebrate the creative breakthroughs, the solving of a tough technical problem, even the lessons learned from a risk that didn't pan out. This creates incredible psychological safety, which allows their teams to stay creative and resilient film after film. It's a system of intentional renewal. So that's the whole internal game in a nutshell. Focus your energy on quiet execution, start early, make your authentic nature your biggest weapon, and reinforce the culture you want. Once that foundation is solid, you're ready to face the outside world. All right, on to Act 2, winning the external game. You've got your internal house in order, the mindset is right. So how do you actually go out and master the marketplace? These next 4 rules are your guide. Now, wait a minute. You might be thinking, didn't you just tell me to stop announcing my plans? And yes, I did. But this is different. This isn't about bragging about the future. This is about leadership visibility. A leader who is present, engaged, and seen creates alignment and trust like nothing else can, especially during times of big change. When Satya Nadella took over Microsoft, the company was just stuck. And his first major strategic move wasn't a product. It was himself. He was everywhere, constant town halls, open Q&As. He personally used his presence to signal a massive cultural shift toward openness. His visibility wasn't about ego. It was a strategic tool he used to turn around a giant ship. A real strategic advantage isn't built in one brilliant moment. It's built through relentless, almost boring consistency. It's about having the discipline to resist all those shiny new distractions and the pressure to chase short-term gains. The real power is in that unwavering focus. And Amazon is the ultimate case study here. For decades, Wall Street was screaming at them to show a profit. But Jeff Bezos was like a broken record, hammering home the same core ideas over and over: customer obsession, long-term thinking. That stubborn consistency is what allowed them to build a competitive moat around their business that is now almost impossible to cross. We all love the stories of heroic, all-night efforts and intense sprints to the finish line. But that's not how you build lasting excellence. Intensity is fragile. It always leads to burnout. True superiority comes from engineering great systems that make doing the right thing the easy thing. This lays out the difference perfectly. Intensity relies on motivation, and motivation, as we all know, comes and goes. Systems, on the other hand, rely on durable processes. Think of the Toyota production system. They didn't ask their workers to just try harder. They built a system where quality was embedded into every single step. Excellence became automatic, repeatable, and sustainable. And that brings us to our final rule. Here's a little secret. Markets whisper before they scream. While all your competitors are focused on the big, loud, obvious trends, the real strategic leaders are listening for the weak signals, those small customer frustrations or subtle shifts in behavior that hint at the next huge opportunity. The Netflix origin story is a perfect example of this. They noticed something small. People didn't just dislike Blockbuster's late fees, they hated them. It was a point of real emotional friction. That single insight, that weak signal, became the strategic justification for their entire subscription model, a model that didn't just compete with the rental industry, it completely upended it. So, when we put all of this together, what do we really see? World-class strategy isn't one dramatic checkmate move. It's not some lightning strike of genius. It's actually a quieter, more relentless process of disciplined execution day in and day out. And these 8 pillars aren't just a list. They form an integrated system. It all starts with the right internal mindset, quiet execution, and early action. That mindset helps you build a unique identity through authenticity and renewal. Then you express that through visible leadership and disciplined focus. And finally, you make it all sustainable by building great systems and listening deeply. Each part reinforces the others to create a powerful engine for success. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Strategy isn't a document that sits on a shelf. It's the sum of your daily actions. So forget about the grand plan for just a moment and ask yourself a simpler question. What story are your actions telling?